Okay, good afternoon. I just wanted to give my perspective, which opinion, of the situation that I was seeing on X this morning. A lot of posts, it was just post after post, sometimes two and three in a row, of the Chernobyl incident um, that happened last night. And of course, Chernobyl is the nuclear facility that Russia had originally. It was Russia's, and um, it was um, it had basically melted down. One of the silos and one of the reactors had just totally melted down, and it totally devastated the area around the nuclear facility, and it did some, it did some pretty good damage to the overall um, climate and stuff, but it didn't absolutely destroy people. There were a lot of people in the immediate area that survived. There's actually some people living in areas around it that are considered restricted, but they still live there, and they're fine. Um, Now, again, this is a perspective, trying to give you a little different perspective on it. Um, the covering is not the first covering that they have on it right now. It's not the first covering. The Russians had actually originally built a covering, but over the years it began to deteriorate some, and they also found that with the um, with the time, they found other areas that needed to also be covered. The surrounding countries also wanted to help make the covering a little bit better. So, of course, they built a new covering. Now, my understanding is that the original covering is still there. It's used as a kind of an insulation blanket, another blanket inside. But the covering that is over it right now, it is built of a much better material, withstands the weather much better, withstands a lot of the issues, the radiation and stuff like that, the issues that was causing the first one to deteriorate some. So this second one is, of course, one of the things is flame proof, so it can't be burnt. All right. So in all of that, the attack was supposedly by a drone um, that supposedly Russia has sent, and um, and the way that they came up with this is that the engine of the drone was a Russian drone. Now I want to go back to the most of the posts. They were describing how that they had managed to get the fire under control, and that the damage was able to be restricted to such a small area, and that the radiation was there was able to be contained, quickly contained, and that there really wasn't much escape of the radiation and stuff, and the radioactive material, and that there was they were able to contain it and make sure. Well, then when you see the pictures of it, one of the things you have to understand, this thing is, I don't forget how many stories tall, and it covers acres and acres of land. This is not like the garden tunnel in someone's garden, or even the commercial garden tunnels. This thing is of massive, massive size. So when the drone struck it, and the way that they were describing it, when I was going to look at the pictures, I was expecting, a big, massive section of it missing. And I'm like, holy cow, this thing was armed with a warhead and all this. And it was like, oh, this thing must have really done some damage. And then you look at it, and from the distance, when they first show it from a distance, it's like, Okay, I see a dark area, a dark streak on it. It's like, was that it? And then they zoom in, and then you can see the hole in it. And it's on the top, and it's on towards one end, the actual end that was added on after the original covering. So it was extended and raised higher, and it was on the end that was covering an additional area. And the hole that's in it is probably about the size of maybe a pickup truck that I could tell. Now, this is, again, just an uneducated Southerner from the United States Southerner. I don't know, but what I was looking at looked to me like it was about the size of maybe a pickup truck. Now, in and of itself, that would be pretty good size, but you're talking about this thing that can cover an industrial plant. I mean, this was a nuclear facility, and it's covering the entire nuclear facility almost. The facility itself, not the grounds, but the facility itself. So this thing is massive. A pickup truck, if you look at a pickup truck next to this, it's a speck. Okay, so this is a speck in this covering, technically. The burn mark was the best I could tell because of the coloring of it and the way the soot was. It was from the fuel from the drone that spilled out onto it. Didn't really do any damage. It burned. So what they put out was just the fuel burning, and really didn't do any damage. Now, again, it's my perspective, my opinion, but didn't see the devastation that they were talking about. The next thing was that they concluded that this was Russia that did this. Now, I have to wonder, the way that they came up with this conclusion was that this was a typical Russian engine used on drones, on the Russian drones. Now, couple that with the fact that the Ukrainians have been bragging about taking down so many Russian drones. They've been taking them down with very minor things, archaic things, sticks. They have their own drones that go in and fly in, and these are some of them cardboard-bodied drones that fly in and just damage the propellers and take the drones down. All right, so that means that these drones that they're taking down are armed with warheads, because they're flying these drones in to attack the Ukrainian people. So if they're taking them down with sticks, that are attached to other drones, and they're just jamming those sticks into the propellers, they're flying these cardboard-bodied drones into the Russian drones and taking them down. That would mean that they have pretty much Russian drones themselves. They actually have these things in their possession. So if they're making cardboard drones, I would imagine they could take and reconstruct a Russian drone with all the parts that they have, and all the engines that they have, and all the warheads, Russian warheads that they have, and fly it in themselves. Now, why would they do this? Why would they do? Well, one, they know that the one drone punching a hole in that thing is not going to create a crisis, even though that is what the left wants you to think, and all these other European countries want you to think that, oh my goodness, this is just devastating. Nowhere near the devastation that the original meltdown created. But yet they're making it out like that one little hole is going. Whew, those Ukrainians, wow. They were something at stopping it. Okay. Now, what if, just what if, the Ukrainians wanted to make a point And since the other European countries have not really been contributing, have not really been putting it, the U.S. has sent billions of dollars over there, and there are other European countries, especially surrounding European countries. All they've done is said, U.S., why haven't you sent more? Why haven't you sent more? You need to send more. We're in danger. We're all in danger over here in Europe. And eventually you would be too. But we're in danger right now. And Trump has said, okay, put some money in it. Nope. They just want to cry about not having enough money from the U.S. Okay, so you got that. Well, then Trump says, you know what? Russia has already taken this land. They're not going to just give it up. The parts of Ukraine that they've taken, they're not going to just give it up, and they'll keep fighting to the end. And yes, there's millions of people that are dying, and it's just going to keep on. And this is what Trump's saying. It's not going to stop. And if we try to take that land back, Russia's going to say, no, I'm not giving in to that. So basically, Trump has said, okay, well, maybe let's just start with stopping the war. Let's just end this war. Then we can continue with negotiations, maybe later, about the land that's taken. But let's don't make it a matter of peace treaty right now. Let's make it a matter of ending the war and just saying, you know what? There was a loss, and we're going to have to accept it for now. Okay? That's all Trump was saying. But in that, Ukraine, especially the con artist that is running the country right now, and everybody knows he's a con artist. He's an actor, a gay actor. I don't know. Some people say that. I don't know. I don't know him. But he wants to make a point. So maybe he sends in a drone that he knows is not going to do major damage, but it's going to appear as if Russia attacked them. And Russia, why would Russia send one drone in? Just one. Why wouldn't they send 10, 15, 20 if they were really wanting to do that damage? And why did it only do that little bit of damage? Why didn't it just devastate the place? I mean, Russia has the missiles to do that, hit that one thing and blow it up to the point where it spreads it all over the place. So why? Maybe Ukraine is trying to get a message out. And guess what? Other European countries kind of got it, because what are they doing now? Oh, well, now, all of a sudden now, these other countries are starting to send in vehicles, tanks, money, other armaments. I don't know. I'm just an uneducated Southerner. I don't know any better.